Peace, peace, y'all. Welcome to today's reading. We are reading starting on page 20 with the UCC connection. Very happy to be here. Excuse me as I get my other streaming spaces in order. La 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 la. Where am I going? Oh. I'm going here. So we're going to start on page 20 of the UCC connection. And then we're going to do day 7 and 8 today. Only we're doing 2 days today because day 7 is only like 9 minutes. So we're going to do both of them. So here we go. This book also feels a little shorter than the last book as well. We might get through this one. Anywho, if the charge is a traffic ticket, you may demand that the court produce the injured person who has filed a verified complaint. For example, if you were charged with failure to buckle your seatbelt, you may ask the court who was injured as a result of your failure to buckle up. However, if the judge won't listen to you and just moves ahead with the case, you will want to read to him the last sentence of UCC 1-103.6, which states that the code cannot be read to preclude a common law action. Tell the judge, Your Honor, I can sue you under the common law for violating my rights under the UCC. I have a remedy under the UCC to reserve my rights under the common law. I have exercised my remedy, so you must construe the statute in harmony with the common law. To be in harmony with the common law, you must bring forth the damaged party. Note, actually, it is better to use a rubber stamp because this demonstrates that you have previously reserved your rights. The simple fact that it takes several days or a week to order and get a stamp shows that you have reserved your rights prior to signing the document. Anderson Uniform Commercial Code Lawyers Cooperative Publishing Code. So make sure you get a rubber stamp. If the judge insists on proceeding with the case, act confused and ask this question. Let me see if I understand, Your Honor. Has the court made a legal determination that the sections of 1-308 and 1-103 of the UCC, which is a system of law you are operating under, are not valid law before this court? Now the judge is in a jam. How can the court throw out one part of the code and uphold another? If he answers yes, then you say, I put this court on notice that I am appealing your legal determination. Of course, the higher court will uphold the code on appeal. The judge knows this, so you have boxed them into a corner. Don't be doing weird shit over my fruit. You and this fly. Section 24. Practical application in traffic court. Just so we can understand how this whole process works, let's look at a court situation such as a traffic violation. Assume you ran through a yellow light and a policeman gave you a traffic ticket. The first thing you want to do is delay the action at least 3 weeks. This you can do by being pleasant and cooperative with the officer. Explain to him that you are very busy and ask if he could please set your... You're not catching the fly. Explain to him that you are very busy and ask if he could please set your court appearance for about 3 weeks away. At this point, we need to remember the government's trick. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. So we want to use this approach with them. The next step is to go to the clerk of the traffic court and say, I believe it will be helpful if I talk to you because I want to save the government some money. This will get his attention. I'm going to appeal this case. As you know, in an appeal, I have a transcript, but the traffic court doesn't have a court reporter. It would be a waste of taxpayers' money to run me through this court and then have to give me a trial de novo, which is a new trial in a court of record. I need a transcript for appealing and to save the government some money. Maybe you could schedule me to appear in a court of record. You can show the date on the ticket, and the clerk will usually agree that there is plenty of time to schedule your trial for a court of record. Now, your first appearance is in a court of record and not in traffic court where there is no record. When you get into the court, there will be a court reporter there who records every word the judge speaks, so that judge is much more careful in a court of record. You will be in a much better situation there than in traffic court. If there is no record, the judge can say whatever he wants. He can call you all sorts of names and tell you that you have no rights and so on, and deny it later. When you get into court, the judge will read the charges, driving through a yellow light or whatever, and in this violation of Ordinance XYZ. He will then ask, do you understand the charge against you? Well, Your Honor, there is a question I would like to ask before I make a plea of innocent or guilty. I think it could be answered if I put the officer on the stand for a moment and ask him a few short questions. The judge says, I don't see why not. Let's swear in the officer and have him take a seat or have him take the stand. Is this the instrument you gave me? Handing him the traffic citation. Officer, yes, this is a copy of it. The judge has the other part of it. Where did you get my address that you wrote on the citation? Well, I got it from your driver's license. Number 4 above is very important to get into the record, clearly stating that you do not understand the charges. With that in the record, the court cannot move forward to judge the facts. This will be covered later on. Handing the officer your driver's license. Is this the document you copied my name and address from? Yes, this is where I got it. While you've got that in your hand, would you read the signature that's on the license? The officer reads the signature. While you're there, would you read into the record what it says under the signature? It says, without prejudice, UCC 1-308. Let me see that license, says the judge. He looks and turns to the officer. You didn't notice this printing under the signature on this license when you copied his name and address on the ticket? Oh no, I was just getting the address. I didn't look down there. You're not very observant as an officer. Therefore, I'm afraid I cannot accept your testimony in regards to the facts of this case. This case is dismissed. And you know what's the catch-22 to that? Now, when you renew your driver's license, oh, peace, goddess. Now, when you renew your driver's license, they tell you you can do it online. So even if you have this knowledge, like go in person and redo the signature on your license. So in this case, the judge found a convenient way out. He could say that the officer was not observant enough to be a reliable witness. He did not want to admit the real nature of the jurisdiction of his court. Once it was on record that you had written without prejudice UCC 1-308, and we are going to go over the UCC codes when we finish these books, the judge knew that he would have to admit A, that you have reserved your common law rights under the UCC, B, that you had done it sufficiently by writing without prejudice UCC 1308 on your driver's license, C, that the statute would now have to be read in harmony with the common law, and the common law says that the statute exists, but there is no injured party. D, that since there is no injured party or complaining witness, the court has no jurisdiction under common law. If the judge tries to move ahead anyway and tries the facts of the case, you will want to ask him the following question. Your Honor, let me understand this correctly. Has this court made a legal determination that it has authority under the jurisdiction that it is operating under to ignore 2 sections of the Uniform Commercial Code which have been called to its attention? If he says yes, tell him that you put the court on notice that you will appeal this legal determination and that if you are damaged by his actions, you will sue him in a common law action under the jurisdictions of the UCC. In fact, we can use the UCC with the IRS before we even get to court. Using the code with the IRS. If the IRS sends you a notice of deficiency, this is called a presentment in the UCC. A presentment in the UCC is very similar to the common law. First, we must understand just how this works in the common law. Suppose I get a man's name from a phone book, someone I have never met, and I send him a bill or invoice on a nice letterhead which says, for services rendered $10,000. And I send this to him by certified mail, return receipt requested at the address taken from this book. The man has to sign it before he can open it. So I get a green card receipt that he received it. When he opens it, he finds an invoice for $10,000 and the following statement. If you have any questions concerning this bill or the services rendered, you have 30 days to make your questions or objections known. Of course, he has never heard of me, so he just throws the bill away and assumes that I'm confused or crazy. At the end of the 30 days, I go to court and I get a default judgment against him. He received a bill for $10,000 and was given 30 days to respond. He failed to object to it or ask any questions about it. Now he has defaulted on the bill and I can lawfully collect the $10,000. This is common law. The UCC works on the same principle. The minute you get a notice of deficiency from the IRS, return it immediately with a letter that says, the presentment above is dishonored. Your name has reserved all of his rights under the Universal Commercial Code at UCC 1-308, which is what I should do because I got a letter from the IRS saying I owe them money. This should be all that is necessary, as there is nothing more that they can do. In fact, I recently helped someone in Maine who received a notice of deficiency. The, the man sent a letter such as this dishonoring the presentment. The IRS wrote back saying that they could not make a determination at that office, but were turning it over to the collections department. A letter was attached to the collections department which said that they were sorry for the inconvenience they had caused him and that the NOD had been withdrawn. So you can see that if it's handled properly, these things are easily resolved. Section 26, impending bankruptcy. On my way here, I had a chance to visit with the governor of blank. He is very concerned that if he runs for office this November, that there won't be a state at the end of 4 years. Don't do it. Stay woke. He believes that the international bankers might foreclose on the nation and officially admit that they don't own the whole world. They could round up everybody in the state capitol building, put them in an internment camp, and hold them indefinitely. They may give them a trial or they may not. They may do whatever they want. As I explained earlier, it has not been expedient to foreclose on the nation until they can get everything ready. This is where the Federal Emergency Management Agency comes in. It has been put in place without anyone really noticing it. That's FEMA for short, acronym wrong. So FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, has been designed for when America is officially declared bankrupt, which would be a national emergency. In a national emergency, all constitutional rights and all law that previously existed will be suspended. FEMA has created large concentration camps where they will put anyone who might cause trouble plan for the orderly plan and process of a new regime to take over the nation. Even a governor could be thrown into one of these internment camps and be kept there indefinitely. This is all in place now, and they are just waiting to declare a national emergency. Then even the state governments could be dissolved. Anybody who might oppose the new regime could be imprisoned until a new set of laws could be written and a new government set up. The government knows all of this and he's very concerned. He doesn't want to be in office when all of this happens. I, Harold Freeman, visited with him and told him that there are certain actions we should take right now. I think that we should consider the fact that according to the UCC, each state is an accommodation party to the national debt. To understand this, we must realize that there are two separate entities known as the United States. The Rothschild influence. When America was founded, hello, looking for real? When America was founded, the Rothschilds were very unhappy because it was founded on Christian common law. The common law is based on substance, and this substance is mentioned in the Constitution as silver and gold. America is a constitutional republic, which is a union of the states under the Constitution. When Congress was working for the republic, the only thing Congress could borrow or issue was silver or gold. And the Rothschild banks did not lend silver or gold. Naturally, they did not like this new government. The Rothschild had a deal with the King of England. The king would borrow paper and agree to repay in gold. But the United States, with their constitution, were an obstacle to the Rothschild, and it was much to their advantage to get the colonies back under the king. So the Rothschilds financed the War of 1812 to bring America back under the British crown. It didn't work as planned, so they had to find another way. Section 29, the flaw in the Constitution, two nations in one. Around the time of the American Civil War, they discovered a flaw in the Constitution. The flaw was Article 1, Section 3, Clause 17. Remember that there are two nations called the United States. What is a nation? See if you agree with this definition. Whenever there is a governing body having a prescribed territory containing a body of people, this is an easy to understand restatement of the definition presented in Black's Law Dictionary. Is this a nation? Yes. We have a governing body in the Republic, a three-branch government, legislative, executive, and judicial branch, under a constitution. We have prescribed territory containing a body of people as a constitutional republic. But Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 gave Congress, the legislative branch of the three-branch government, exclusive rule over different territory containing a body of people, which is District of Columbia. Here we have a nation within a nation, a legislative democracy within a constitutional republic. Can you write that down? I need you to write this down. So we are looking at The Constitution. We're definitely going to read the Constitution together, but I want you to highlight Article 1, Section 3, Clause 17. Right here. Of the Constitution. And then next to it, I want you to put flaw. Thank you. I'm glad you're in love, love. Appreciate the follow. Are you already in alignment with claiming your nationality and all that fun stuff? And just so you know, KKK is the Knowledge Keepers Club. Look, the next article is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. That's this is where they put the I'm gonna tell you, this is where they put the legislative democracy within a constitutional republic. So put that and then put this underneath this line underneath it. Because it'll be all things we're gonna look up later. Now put legislative democracy within constitutional republic. It's not really like us. A lot of people do not search this information. They don't, and that's why I'm up here and I do these lives because I know plenty of fish. This is the last person. It's the last place you would hear somebody talk about this. But this needs to be where it's at. Everybody be coming up here to have shallow conversation. Nope. We're gonna talk about nationality. So right now it's me and my son. We're about to turn 18. So we read this together. And then whoever watches, you know, they learn with us. But right now it's me teaching myself because I have two sons. One of them's about to be 18, and the other one, he's still a child. So I'm trying to teach the both of them. Well, I'm trying to do it for my youngest son and give him the little ones and twos however I can because he's younger. But my oldest one, he got to know how to conduct himself. Thank you. Appreciate that. I do my best. You know, trying to be a good parent. We need new problems. Don't need the same problems over again. All right. So when Congress was a part of the constitutional republic, it was obligated to provide a medium of exchange for the people. Its duty was to coin silver and gold. Anyone who had a piece of silver or gold could bring it in and have it freely minted into silver or gold coin. This was the medium of exchange for the republic. But in the legislative democracy, which is the Washington, D.C., Congress is not limited by the Constitution. Congress has exclusive rule over the District of Columbia and its people. The legislators in the District of Columbia can make the laws by a majority vote because the District of Columbia is a democracy wherein their administrative agents enforce their own laws, and the administrative courts in their government try their own laws. Here we have the legislator making the law, enforcing the law, and trying the law all within one branch of the government. This is a one branch government within a three branch government. Under the three-branch government, Congress passes the law, which must be in harmony with the Constitution. The executive enforces the laws passed by Congress, and the judiciary tries these laws passed by Congress pursuant to the Constitution. The three-branch constitutional republic and the one-branch legislative democracy, both called the United States. One is the continental United States, the other one is the federal United States or federal zone. Write that down. Continental United States and federal United States, because we're going to look that up too. Section 30. Don't forget to tell them the District of Columbia is Washington, D.C. Yeah, so these videos that we be watching, they talk about that. When you say you're a U.S. citizen, that means that you live and work in Washington, D.C. But it's like a certain way to word it, because I was going back and forth with my dad today, because he keeps calling it a sovereign, and I'm like, it's not sovereign. You can't be a sovereign citizen. Like, and that's how I know he's not doing the homework. I love my dad. It's called but you can be a soldier on it if you want. You could be what is it, an alien resident? He's smiling hard as hell, high school. Or American national. That's fun. Just assigned to the corporation. What do you mean by that? Because I would like to know what you mean. Wait, legislative democracy versus constitution. Wait, no, I'm sorry. It was continental. What was that? La, 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 la. Where is it? Oh, continental United States versus the federal United States. Oh, property of District of Columbia. Where, like when you the story of Asar and Offset. Asar was cut into 13 pieces, and the 14th piece was the golden phallus that's in the middle of Washington D.C. That big ass phallus in the middle of Washington D.C. And that's the 14th piece. Also, 14 stars in Orion's belt, and there's also actually 14 zodiacs. They skip Ophiuchus and Cephas, which is very interesting choices to skip. Um, but yeah, that's the 14th piece, 1 and 4. Okay. So the remaining population of the Union of the 50 states are national citizens of, hold on. Anyone who lives in the District of Columbia is a citizen of the United States. The remaining population in the Union of 50 states are national citizens of the nation. We are domiciled in the various sovereign states and protected by the constitutions of those states from any direct rule of Congress over us. In the democracy, anyone who lives in the states known as Washington, D.C., Guam, Puerto Rico, or any other federally held territories is a citizen of the United States, which is D.C. We must be careful with our choice of words. We are not citizens of the United States. We are not subject to Congress. Congress has executive rule over a given territory, and we are not a part of that territory. Where did Congress get the authority to write the Internal Revenue Code? It is found in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Write that down. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. To pass that law, they only needed a majority vote. There is no other way that they can pass laws directly affecting individuals. Title 26 of the IRC was passed as law for a different nation. Remember our definition of nation. Title 26 is not consistent with the Bill of Rights. If you try to fight the IRS, you have no rights. The IRS code does not give you your constitutional rights. It simply says you failed to file an income tax form. You failed to perform in some specific manner. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution. That's what gives the IRS the authority to write the IRC, which is the code. Okay. Also, just type under here IRS codes. Remember, under common law, you are free to do whatever you want to do as long as you are not infringing upon the life, liberty, or property of anybody else. If you do not want to perform, you don't have to. The only way you can be compelled to perform under the Constitution of the continental United States is if you have voluntarily entered into a contract. But if you are not under a contract, you cannot be compelled to perform. You cannot be compelled to file an income tax form. Is that the IRC? There. Mm-hmm. Did you write Title 26? When Congress works for the Republic, every law it passes must be in harmony with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But when Congress works for the legislative democracy, any law it passes become law over the federal territory. If you are charged with willful failure to file a 1040 income tax form, that form is of and for a different nation. You're a non resident alien of that nation. It is a foreign corporation to you. It is not the Republic of the Continental United States coming after you. It is a foreign nation, the legislative democracy of a foreign nation coming after you. And that's where Wesley Snipes fucked up. Because he knew the stuff, but he didn't know how to speak on it. He literally touched the tip, and then he had a dumbass lawyer that knew absolutely nothing what he was talking about but trying to represent him. And that's where he fucked up. You gotta know this. Like, even if you decide to have a lawyer, make sure you know what the fuck you're talking about. If you get a notice of deficiency from the IRS, it is a presentment from the Federal United Nations. So you can use the UCC to dishonor it, and you could tell the IRS that you are among the national citizenry of the continental United States and that you are a non-resident alien to the federal United States. You never lived in the federal zone, a federal territory, and you never had any income from the federal United States, which is DC. Furthermore, you cannot be required to file or pay taxes under the compelled benefit of using the Federal Reserve notes because you have reserved your rights under the common law through UCC 1-308. And after we get done doing these books, we are going to go over the UCC code together. We're going to read the Constitution together. We're going to read the Bill of Rights. We're going to get into the Title 26. We're going to do all that. So Section 31, original intent of the founders. The founding fathers would never have created a government that was going to boss them around. There were 13 sovereign states. They were nations which they joined together in a union for protection from foreign enemies. They provided a means by which the union of sovereign states could fend off foreign and domestic enemies. But they never gave the Congress of the Federal United States a direct rule over any citizen of any union state. They were not going to be ordered around by the government that they set up. Section 32 is federal region, the federal zone. The Supreme Court has declared that Congress can rule what Congress creates. The Congress did not create the states, but Congress did create federal regions. So Congress can rule the federal regions, but Congress cannot rule the states. How have we been tricked into the federal regions? Section 33 is the zip code trick. So y'all putting zip codes on these papers, that's working to get you. Zip code's not even that old, for real, for real. They're from like the 80s or something. But let's talk about it after I get done chewing my grape. In fact, here you go, Z. You can do it. You're going to read up into the Social Security problem on page 37. Yep, they're only supposed to operate inside the District of Columbia, and we have to start getting comfortable with challenging that. Yep.
Section 33, the zip code trick. Remember how the government always comes to you and says, "I'm from the government and I've come to help you out"? The government went to the various states and said, "We don't want you to go through all that trouble of writing 3 or 4 letters to abbreviate the name of your state, such as Aries for Arizona. Just write AZ instead of Aries. Or you could just write WY for Wyoming instead of WYO. So all the states of the Union have been given new two-letter abbreviations. Even a state such as Rhode Island has a new abbreviation, RI, instead of R.I. They just left off periods. When you use a two-letter state abbreviation, you are compelled to use the zip code, the zone improvement code, because there are many states which start with the same letter. For example, M or ME is Maine, and MI is Michigan, and MS is Mississippi. With MA, MO, MN, and MS, etc., and some sloppy writing, you could not tell one from another apart. So we used the zip code in order to tell them apart. But if you wrote MICH or MINN or MISS, there would be no problem telling them apart. There's no harm in using the zip code if you lawfully identify your state. I found out that no state legislature has met to lawfully change the abbreviation of their state from its old abbreviation to the new. Therefore, if you do not use the lawful abbreviation for your state, but use the new legal shorter abbreviation, you have to use the zip code. Look on page 11 of the zip code directory, and it will tell you that the first digit of your zip code is the federal region in which you reside. If you use AZ for Arizona, you cannot use the state constitution to protect you because you did not lawfully identify your state. You use the zip code, which identifies which federal region you live in. Congress may rule federal regions differently, but it cannot rule the citizens of any state. Section 34, Accommodation Party. Let's look at how the states have become accommodation party to the national debt. Many people who I have talked to, including the governor, are very concerned about this and know that it could happen very soon. If America is declared a bankrupt nation, it will be a national emergency. FEMA will take over, and anyone who opposes the creditor's new government can be sent to a detention camp in Alaska. We will have no rights whatsoever. They have already set up prison camps with work camps nearby so the people can be used for slave labor. It could be the governors, legislators, or other leaders who would be hauled away to Alaska, while the people, now disenfranchised from power, would likely be chosen to run the new government. This could all happen very soon, as the national debt is so large as to be unpayable. Even the interest on debt is virtually unpayable. As I explained, the national debt, more than $3 million now, $17 trillion, is not owned by the continental United States, abbreviated. It is owned by the federal United States that was given the authority to borrow bank credit. When Congress worked for the continental United States, it could only borrow silver and gold. Therefore, the national debt was borrowed by the federal United States. The federal United States had trapped the states into assuming the debt obligation of the federal debt. In the UCC, we found the term accommodation party. How did the states become the accommodation party to federal debt? The federal government forced the states to deal in Federal Reserve notes, which means that everything that the states do and have done is colorable. Under the colorable jurisdiction of the UCC, all the states are accommodation parties to the federal debt. The concern now is to find out how we can get out of the situation. I told the governor that in the common law and the law of merchants, the international law of merchant, there's a term called no interest contract. A no interest contract is unenforceable and void. What is a no interest contract? Section 35. No interest contract. If I were to insure a house that did not belong to me, that would be a no interest contract. I would just want the house to burn down. I would pay a small premium, perhaps a few $100s, and insure it for $80,000 against fire. Then I would be waiting for the house to burn down so I could trade my small premium for $80,000 I would have no interest in leaving or owning that house. Under the common law, this is called a no interest contract, which is unenforceable in any court and therefore void. Section 36. Unconscionable contracts. No interest contracts are called unconscionable contracts. The section in the Anderson Code on unconscionable contracts covers more than 40 pages. The federal United States have made each state an accommodation party to the federal debt, which could be proven to be an unconscionable contract. We should get some litigation into the courts before the government declares a national emergency, claiming that the state has no lawful responsibility for the national debt of the federal United States because it became an accommodation party to this debt through an unconscionable no interest contract. If we have this litigation before the courts under international law, when the nation is declared bankrupt, the creditors would have to settle this matter first, and it would delay them. They would want the new government to appear legitimate, so could not just move right to take over their states, because it would be an international court. This is very important at this time. Then Section 36, 37, questions and review. Note, these are some of the questions asked after the main lecture. Some are restatements of material presented earlier, but they contain valuable information worth reading. Courtroom techniques. How did you box in the judge? This is easy to do if you don't know much. I didn't know too much, but I boxed him in. You must play a little dumb. If you are arrested and you go into court, just remember that in a criminal action, you must understand the law, or it is a irreversible error for the court to try you. If you don't understand the law, they can't try you and have to dismiss the case. In a traffic case or tax case, you are called into court and the judge reads the law and then asks, do you understand the charges? The defendant should say, no, Your Honor, I do not. The judge, well, what is so difficult about the charge? Either you drove the wrong way on a one-way street or you did not. You can only go one way on that street, and if you go the other way, it's $50 fine. What's so difficult about this that you do not understand? The defendant, well, Your Honor, it's not the letter of the law, but rather the nature of the law that I don't understand. The Sixth Amendment to the Constitution gives me the right to ask the court to explain the nature and cause of any action against me, and upon my request, the court has the duty to answer. I have a question about the nature and cause of this action. Well, what is that? What do you need to know? Well, Your Honor, is this a civil or criminal action? It is criminal. If it were a civil action, there could be no fine, so it has to be criminal. Thank you, Your Honor, for telling me that. Then the record will show that this action against your name is a criminal action, is that right? Yes. I would like to ask another question about this criminal action. There are two criminal jurisdictions mentioned in the Constitution. One is under common law, and the other deals with international maritime contracts under admiralty jurisdiction. Equity is civil, and you said this is a criminal action, so it seems it would have to be under either common law or maritime law. But what puzzles me, Your Honor, is that there is no corpus delicti.
What?
Delict.
Where? Corpus delicti. Wait, what? Corpus delicti? Yeah, it's one of them Harry Potter words. Like, no, it's Latin. That's why we need to finish learning Latin.
Here to give this court jurisdiction over my person and property under the common law. Therefore, it doesn't appear that this court is moving under common law. No, this court is not under the common law. Well, thank you, Your Honor. But now you make the charge against me even more difficult to understand. The only criminal jurisdiction would apply only one, if there's an international maritime contract involved, and two, I was a party to it. 3, it had been breached, and 4, court was operating in an admiralty jurisdiction. I don't believe I have ever been under any international maritime contract, so I would deny that one exists. I would have no I would have to demand that such a contract, if one does exist, be placed into evidence so that I may contest it. But surely this court is not operating
Hello,
in an
latchkey.
admiralty jurisdiction. You just put the words in the judge's mouth.
Goodbye.
No, I can assure you, we're not operating in an admiralty jurisdiction. We're not out in the ocean somewhere. We're right here in the middle of the state. No, this is not an admiralty jurisdiction. Thank you, Your Honor. But now I am more puzzled than ever. If this charge is not under the common law nor under admiralty, then those are the only two criminal jurisdictions mentioned in the Constitution. What kind of jurisdiction could this court be operating under? It's Sattery's jurisdiction. Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I'm glad you told me that, but I have never heard of that jurisdiction. So if I have to defend myself under that jurisdiction, I would need to have the rules of criminal procedure of statutory jurisdiction. Can you tell me where I might find these such rules? There are no such rules for statutory jurisdiction, so the judge will be very angry at this point and say, if you want answers to questions like that, get a licensed attorney. I'm not allowed to practice law from the bench. Oh, Your Honor, I don't think anyone would accuse you of practicing law from the bench if you just answered a few questions to explain to me the nature and cause of this action, so I can defend myself. I told you before I am not going to answer any more questions. Do you understand that? If you ask any more questions regarding this, I'm going to find you in contempt of court. Now, if you can't afford a licensed attorney, the court will appoint one for you. But if you want those questions answered, you must get a licensed attorney. Thank you, Your Honor. Please let me just see if I got this straight. Has this court made a legal determination that it has authority to conduct a criminal action against me, the accused, under a secret jurisdiction, the rules of which are known only to this court and licensed attorneys, therefore denying me the right to defend myself in my own person? He has no answer for that. The judge will probably postpone the case and eventually just let it go. In this way, you can be wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. But you must not go into court with a chip on your shoulder and as a wolf in black sheep country. Remember Jesus' words, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Sheep do not attack wolves directly. Just be an innocent lamb who just can't understand the charge. And remember, they can't try you criminally if you don't understand the charge. That would automatically be reversible error on appeal. Section 39. Oh,
Okay.
it's stop.
Section 30. Yeah, we're gonna stop. So tomorrow we're gonna get started with the Social Security problem is gonna be next. But today, hope you guys absorbed the information about the zip code trick and how they utilize the abbreviations of the state and the zip codes to get you to claim being underneath their jurisdiction. We talked about the difference between the two governments that were in the legislative what was it called? I want to get the direct name right. Legislative democracy within a constitutional republic, and the Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 that gives Congress that legislative branch, enforcement and all that stuff like that. And then also gives like a gray area for the IRC, which is the Internal Revenue Code, which is in alignment with IRS. The ability to create, statutes and things like that. And when you claim the U.S. citizenship, you are underneath the jurisdiction. And also, we talked about how to respond when you receive a ticket, and we also talked about how to respond when you receive a letter from the IRS, which I would definitely be utilizing. Because I got a letter from the IRS and they got to kiss my ass. So I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you guys in on my journey with that, with the IRS and the letter that they sent me, because they did send me a letter of deficiency or whatever. And I will respond according to how this book taught me to respond. And as you know, I go through that journey with that, I would be transparent with y'all because why not? A lot of times I see people reading these books and going through these things, and they're not being transparent with their own journey, which creates a sense of distrust to the people watching, and that's not what I want to create here. I'm learning with you guys. We're gonna learn together. We're gonna take the shit over together. I would love to I don't know if I probably could. I mean, especially if I know my rights as a citizen, like run for some type of, governmental office and know how to speak myself so well in those rooms that even if I didn't win, just the fact that I'm on these stages and in these platforms and I'm challenging my opponent with these concepts, it would be enough to for other people to be like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like whatever I got to do to make sure more people know about this, I'm gonna do it. And I thank y'all for tuning in. So now we're gonna do day 7 and day 8. Okay, I got you, Oblag. So now what we're doing for day 7 and day 8 of the onestupidfuck.com. Disclaimer: it gets very vulgar here in this part, but the way he speaks on the codes and stuff is so layman's that it's very difficult to not understand it or understand. Excuse me, I didn't mean it. Where he used the word understand, but it's very difficult to not understand or overstand what he's saying because he speaks it so. I won't use the word eloquently, but yeah, we're gonna get started on those two. The first day 7 is only like 10 minutes, so that's why we're gonna do 2 days today. Ooh, my laptop, my keyboard doesn't keep jumping out my. Okay. We're gonna share my screen, share my screen, share my screen.
Video number 7 with your favorite.
Just imagine your agency is scaling to $50,000 a month and beyond, delivering incredible results to your local
Sovereign citizen. Oh, fucking love it, dude. Oh, man, I just got out of my hot tub. I got this fucking nice-ass hot tub here in this new place I'm living at. Hey, any cute girls here in Los Angeles want to come by my hot tub, send me a fucking message on my website. Invite you and all your friends over. It'd be fun. Maybe we'll do a barbecue, talk about the Constitution. All right, video number 7. Video number 7. Let's see what we got here. This one's going to be a short one because the next one's going to be long as fuck. All right. And it, like I said before, all these videos are just coming based off of my website, my theory page, point by point, right? So we're on number 7. So number 7, if you're born inside one of the 50 states, the moment you come out of the womb, you are considered a state national of the state you were born in. There are particular statutes at large, which means laws passed by Congress that state that no private contract can violate, negate, or mitigate your state national status. So if you were born in one of the 50 states, you are already a state national. Now, the state national part, it gets muddied. So it's basically like, here's you as a state national. That's like your foundation, and then the U.S. citizen thing gets superimposed on top. So all you're doing is it's still there. A state citizen's still there. All you're doing is just removing the superimposed U.S. citizen, and then boom, the state national just shines right through. It's always there. It's always been there. Now, let's say you were born in Washington, D.C. or Guam or Puerto Rico. Frankly, I don't have a fucking clue. Honestly, I'm sure there's a way you can sort it out, especially if you're actually living in one of the states. You would probably, I don't know. I would just get a long form birth certificate from Washington, D.C. and do the fucking passport process and just see what happens. That's what I would probably do, to be honest. Because Where you live currently is really the main part of the status. When you tell the Bureau of Consular Relations or whatever it is, the passport office, when you tell them what the deal is with you in terms of your passport, you're telling them where you're at now. On mine, I told them I was born in Indiana, but I'm a sojourner or a resident. I forget what I said, of California. So, you technically become a state citizen of the state that you are living in. So, to some degree, you kind of tell them where you actually are residing or sojourning or whatever. But to some degree, you're there, because when you it doesn't change the way your passport looks or anything like that, but they put it in the computer that I'm a California state citizen. I'm not an Indiana state citizen. I was born in Indiana, but I'm not an Indiana state citizen. I'm a California state citizen. So I'm assuming if you were born in Guam or something like that, I'm assuming hell. I mean, even if, I don't know, man. I mean, even if you're from another country and you come here and you naturalize or something like that, I'm pretty sure all you do is just get your U.S. citizenship here. And then you take your long form birth certificate, maybe from back where you're from, I don't know, France or something, I have no idea, and just send in the same explanatory statement, just stating that you're from France, you have a long form birth certificate, you're now living in the state of Ohio, you want to become a state citizen of Ohio, you finished your U.S. citizenship naturalization. It's literally, it's called an explanatory statement. You attach it to the back of the passport. It's an affidavit. So we can clear up that word real quick. So what is an affidavit? Is a written statement confirmed by oath or affirmation for use as evidence in court. So So you probably heard of a notary before, right? We're going to get into this more later, I believe, in a later thing. But a notary basically checks your identity and then watches you sign. And a notary works on behalf of the Secretary of State of whatever state that he or she works in. So the notary transforms a piece of paper from just a piece of paper into an affidavit. So if I were to take this piece of paper right here, which is my notes for video number 6, I didn't even write any for 7 because it's so short, I figured, but never is. If I take this piece of paper right now, just fucking literally notes for the video, and I were to have it notarized, and it'd become an affidavit. That's all an affidavit is. That's that simple. It's just like the notary says, I checked this dude out who wrote this piece of paper. I verified to make sure it really was the guy who says it was the guy, who says he wrote it. And I watched him sign it. So usually it's done on papers and stuff like that that's submitted to the court. And it's usually under penalty of perjury because you're under oath. And it's usually that kind of thing. But you can turn anything into an affidavit. So when you submit we'll go over it more on the passport video, but when you submit your explanatory statement, you're just writing all the information. I was born in Paris in 1958, and I blah 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 blah, and then I came to America, and I've lived in America for 9.5 years, and I lived in this state, and I lived in this state, and then this and that, and then now I live in the state of Kansas, and I want to be a state citizen of Kansas, and as per this law, as per you guys telling me of my different statuses that I can choose from, as per this, we're going to go over all those things. I want to be here in Kansas. I want to be a state citizen of Kansas. Please give me a state citizen passport. And then I would assume you probably submit your long form birth certificate from your country of France. I don't know. Again, I don't have all the fucking answers for everything. You guys can figure that out and let me know. It's not something that I really run into too much. So, but that's what I'm going to assume is the case. And the main thing for this video that I wanted to really bring to your attention is that state citizen, if you're born in the 50 states, sadly. If not, I don't know. I'm assuming DC and Guam and all that, it's probably pretty easy. I'm assuming you just get the long form birth certificate and just do the same shit. I just don't know. I really don't know. I just know that in the 50 states, it's always the same. Long form birth certificate, explanatory statement, and then boom, you're always going to get the 5-star passport. All the ones that I've seen. My main point of this video is that nothing can take away your state national status. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah, you're a U.S. citizen, but like I drew before in video number 5 or whatever it was, they consider that you domicile where you're actually living, but you're a temporary resident of Washington, D.C. So all you're doing is just cleaning up that temporary resident aspect, and then now you're domiciling and resident and sojourn and everything, even though you're not going to use those words necessarily in your state. So the state national thing, it's just sitting there waiting for you if you were born in one of the 50 states, just waiting for you to just come and pick it up and grab it. And honestly, no one's going to stop you. And the Bureau of Consular Affairs isn't going to stop you. Nobody's going to fucking stop you. So there's all this silliness about, this and that. I mean, it's been the smoothest, simplest, easiest fucking thing I've ever done in my entire life. So yeah, it's that you send in whatever again, all these government agencies are just sitting there enjoying the feeling of a big, beautiful, ripe cucumber 7 inches up their own ass. And they just sit there and sip coffee and wait for you to send them fucking shit. And then they just type it into the computer, literally. So you say, oh, here's a deal, a little update for you. I'm going to be a state citizen now, no longer a U.S. citizen as per this and this. Thanks so much. Love, Brandon. Okay. Sipping coffee, type it in, print the fucking passport, send it off. It's that easy. So yeah, it's literally that easy. When you see how easy it is, you're gonna cry. And yeah, that's it. We'll just do a short one this time. I'll see you at video number 8.
Get online in minutes. Web.com's AI builder makes
Okay. Okay. We are on to video number 8. And yeah, video number 8 is going to be a big one. So the last one was kind of short, 7. So that's going to make up for the big boy number 8. Yeah. Okay. So you become a U.S. citizen when your parents sign all your paperwork, and then when you're born, your birth certificate and because you basically become owned property at the birth certificate level. Okay. Because you don't, again, I don't know. I think I went over it briefly at the beginning. Certificate means that there is a copy of it somewhere, like a certificate of title, birth certificate. That just, when you get those long form birth certificates, those are just copies of the original. The original is owned by somebody and it's been traded many, many, many times. And somebody technically owns your birth certificate. Now, real quick, people think, a lot of people in the, sovereign citizen movement think that what that means is that they own you. Not quite. The birth certificate basically got rolled into the bankruptcy of 1933, and the birth certificate represents our lifetime span of potential productivity. So they don't own us with the birth certificate. They own our future potential productivity. It's more like the stock market kind of thing. It's more like, could the value of this gold go up or go down? It's kind of like that same idea. It's like you see a company, it's a new company, and you're like, oh man, are they gonna do really well and blow up or not? And you put money into it hoping that it's gonna blow up, right? So
How would you like to collect 5-figure checks by helping foreclosure victims
certificate represents your productivity, your what you deliver to the world, what you deliver to the country. Yeah, basically it. So they don't own you; they just own the idea of what you can produce throughout your lifetime, which is still pretty horrible. And the Social Security card, and then you fill out a driver's license when you're 16. Driver's license generally asks you if you're a U.S. citizen. You put yes on that. Then you turn 18, you fill out your first W-9 form, which we went over before. W-9 is the W-9 tax form. This is the one that in Section 3, make sure I got you guys on here. In Section 3, it's the certification under penalties of perjury that you, number 3, am a U.S. citizen or other U.S. person. So then you sign that bad boy. Got fucked. Then we're not going to get into this quite yet, but this is the passport application DS11 form. On this one, you go to oh my God, they changed it recently. Expiration date? What the hell? They added another gender spot. Interesting. Again, only men and women have rights. So M, F, and X are on here now. Good luck. That's all I got to say. Good luck, man. Chopping your dick off and saying that you're, a non-binary shooting star. All that's going to do for you is just strip all your fucking rights, man. You're not going to have a goddamn single fucking right. You're going to be a pathetic, broken plaything. Anyways, so if you look on page 2 here, you have U.S. citizen, ? Yes or no? It's asking you that for your parent, your other parent, and your spouse. The passport form used to ask you if you were a U.S. citizen. The one that I did recently, just a couple months ago, did not have that, and it looks like it still does not have that. Yeah. So you fill out one of these and you sign you sign U.S. citizen to both your parents. You sign U.S. citizen to everything. So that's how many contracts is that? So you have the birth certificate, then you have the Social Security number, 2 contracts there. Then you have a contract for when your mom signs you into the school system. That's a contract. Or your dad. And then you have a contract when you're 16 and you become get a driver's license, and then 18. 18 is really when a lot of these contracts start to really matter. So once you fill out your first W-9 form, that's the first real death blow to your status, right? Anyways, so you do all these things. Now, this is the part we haven't gone over yet. So we're going to go over what's called election. I know I've talked to you a little bit earlier about the revocation of election, but what's the election? So you were a non-resident alien, and then when you fill out the W-9 and stuff like that, what you did during that time is you elected to be a resident alien, okay? And this is as per 26 Code of Federal Regulations, subsection 1.871-1. Copy and paste that badass motherfucker into Google, open it right up. And then let's go on down here. We've got classes of aliens, classes of non-resident aliens, sexy, buff, pink shirt wearing, nipple touching, sexy non-resident aliens. That's me. What else do we have? Let's see. What are we looking for again? Oh, non-resident aliens. Oh, we are looking for non-resident aliens. Great.
EVE Online is a vast universe, alive with the unrelenting activity.
Non-resident. I'm just a non-resident alien. It's all I wanna be. It's all I wanna be is a non-resident alien. Okay. We're gonna rewrite this whole thing. This is a giant mind fuck of a paragraph. And so this is the main area you need to know in order to understand the revocation of election. For purposes of the income tax, alien individuals, let me make sure you're with me here. Okay, good. Alien individuals are divided generally into two classes, namely resident aliens and non-resident aliens. Ha ha! But you already know what that means. Oh, watch this here. Watch this. I'll click on resident alien. Resident alien. The term resident alien has the meaning set forth in section 7701B and blah through blah of this chapter. Yeah, go look at those. Go look at those and see how fucking confusing the definition is. Non-resident alien, same thing. 26, what is it? 26 CFR 7701. 26 CFR 7701. Classifications of organizations for federal tax purposes. Yeah, let's see. Watch this. What do we got? B? Isn't it B? B? Classes of organizations. Anyways. Try to find some of these definitions. Good luck. Try tracing them down. It's going to be. Let's see. Here's the United States. What did it say here? Yeah. Anyways, it's not easy to find these definitions. They just bring you in circles and confuse the fuck out of you. So that's why the previous video is so important that I went over with you guys, the different definitions that I've dug up from a lot of videos and looking at this shit and just trying to figure it all out. So anyways, resident alien individuals are in general taxable the same as citizens of the United States. That is, a resident alien is taxable on income derived from all sources, including sources without the United States. See 111B. Non-resident alien individuals are taxable only on certain income from sources within the United States and on income described in section blah, 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 from sources without the United States. And it's funny because you try to trace down what that even means, and you can't even find a lot of information on it. Basically, essentially, what they're saying here is if you're a non-resident alien and you're a state national of California, but you're contracting to work for the federal government, the District of Columbia, you're getting privileged money from them. So even though you're not a U.S. citizen and even though you're not a resident alien, you still have to pay taxes on the privileged income that you're making from the contracts that you're doing with the federal government. And you say to yourself, well, fuck. How would you, this is what I was talking about in an earlier video where I said I would teach you guys how to pay taxes in a way that didn't contract you into Washington, D.C. And the way that you do that is, so you guys know about the 1040 form. This is the individual income tax return form. This is what a accountant will file on your behalf for self-employed people and stuff like that, right? So anyone who's self-employed or anyone who's getting money from a company or getting money from sources that are not like a payroll type, like employee type situation, you fill out the 1040. Now the 1040 is for resident aliens and U.S. citizens. And let's see if it says that anywhere. So I can just show that to you. Where, oh, where has my U.S. citizen gone? Where, oh, where can he be? Let's see. In that case, we're going to do 1040 form instructions.
To get started in data analytics, you don't need previous experience or a degree. The Google Data Analytics Certificate will teach you to code in R, to code in SQL, data visualization, and learning how to problem solve like an analyst would. At the end of the day, being a data analyst is about
1040, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 1040, 1040, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 1040. 10 to 10, 10, 40. 10 to 10, 10, 10, 10, 40. 10 to 10, 10, 10, 10, 40. 10 to 10, 10, 10, 10, 40. Do you want to do a 1040? 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 You want to... Do you want to do a 1040? Do you want to do a 1040? Well, anyways, I know for a fact you don't do this because there's another form that no one knows about that I'm going to show you. It's called the 1040 NR form. Dun, 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 dun. No one's heard of this, but it exists. And it doesn't exist because nobody uses it. It doesn't exist because it's fake. It doesn't exist because I'm a fucking retard. It exists because it's fucking real. That's why it exists. So a 1040 NR is a non-resident alien who's doing work for the federal government, which is known as United States. And that income is privileged income. So they have to file the 1040. But if you file the normal 1040, you're contracting into the to Washington, D.C. as a U.S. citizen. So you're getting sucked into their whole system, all their fucking statutes. You're contracting in hard as fuck. You're like bending over, lubing up your own asshole and getting ready to get fucking pummeled. Whereas with a 1040 NR, you can work for the federal government as a state national and pay taxes on the money that legally you need to pay taxes on without contracting into the system. And that's how seeing this, it also kind of proves my point that the 1040 is for U.S. citizens. I couldn't find it in the instructions, but it makes sense because why would the 1040 NR even exist? It's like, no, the 1040 NR is for non-citizens, and then the 1040 is for citizens. Okay. So that's how you, if you felt really, really uncomfortable by all this information, you're like, fuck, like I still want to pay all my taxes of all the money that I'm making in my state or something like that. And you're just really fucking nervous. I would do a 1040 NR. I mean, you don't, once you become a non-resident alien and you correct your status, you don't need to pay any of these taxes that you're paying right now at all. But if you wanted to temporarily, or if your wife was freaking out, or if there was some weird situation in your life where you're like, I just can't do that quite yet, file a 1040 NR and file as a non-resident alien. And that's still a huge step in the right direction. Huge. You're still moving toward killing those contracts. As long as you're moving toward killing contracts, I really don't care what you do. So that's the 1040 NR form. So that was a big tangent. So anyways, back to this thing that we're reading here. blah, 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 blah. Anyways, so what this is saying is that a resident alien has to pay tax on everything. A non-resident alien only has to pay tax on certain things. And when you look into what those certain things are, it means just income that comes from doing actual work or trade with the District of Columbia. So if you're like a contractor and you're doing defense contracting for the Washington, D.C., which is also known as the United States, you would need to pay taxes. So the two terms are without and within. So within the United States means inside of District of Columbia. Without the United States means outside of the District of Columbia. So without the United States. So even if you're living in California, you're a California state national, you're a non-resident alien, and all your shits all together. If you're a defense contractor or something, you would still need to file the 1040NR form in order to pay your privileged income tax on that money. That's my understanding of how this all breaks down. Okay. Now, this is the part where we're going to be talking about the election. Okay. However, non-resident alien individuals may elect under section 6013 G or H to be treated as U.S. residents for purposes of determining their income tax liability under chapter 1 and 24 of the code. Let's see.
How do celebrities like Justin Bieber and The Rock generate hundreds of millions of dollars? It's actually not what you think.
Section 613. I don't know if that's I don't know what they're even talking about here. Section, I don't know if it's the CFR or if it's something else, but anyways, as per some section, you can elect. So when you turn 18 and you fill out a W-9 form and you sign it as a U.S. citizen, this is the part that they're operating off of. Non-resident alien individuals may elect under section 6013 G or H to be treated as U.S. residents for the purposes of determining their income tax liability under chapters 1 and 24 of the code. So basically what they're saying here, and I rewrite it in my website, what they're really saying in this section is, again, we're going to go back. I broke this down a little differently, like UCC 9-307H. We went through that a long time ago. It says in black and white, location of the United States is in the District of Columbia. And then you have United States as it's defined in 28 USC 3002 15A, a federal corporation, which means District of Columbia. So I rewrote 26 CFR 1.8711. Non-resident alien individuals are taxable only on certain income from money they make from the District of Columbia. However, non-resident alien individuals may willingly elect, if they feel like they woke up today and decided on retardation, to be treated as resident aliens for purposes of us stealing their money. If they would like to file any of our forms, like a W-4, and say they are U.S. citizens and send us money, we'll do them a favor and change their status to resident alien for them as a public service so we can deposit their money. That's exactly what's going on. Exactly what's going on. Now, one other interesting side note here, it's kind of random, but if for some reason you're having a hard time getting your employer to accept a W-8BEN form, I was thinking about this after we did the last video, you can do a W-4T form. W-4T tax form. I think, yeah, this is the W-4T. This might not be an official version. You might have to hunt around a little bit to find an official version, but this one here is basically, this is to eliminate a W-4 agreement. So you can also do it in lieu of a W-4. So instead of a W-4, this is basically just saying employer will not make any payroll withholding. Employee is responsible for all taxes. And then you say that certify that the statement is correct. And I release my employer from any withholding obligations or claims. You're basically saying the withholding agent doesn't have any responsibility for my shit. I'm going to handle my shit on my own. I don't need somebody to hold my dick and finger my asshole. That's basically what you're saying on this form. And so if you're signing up for a job right away, this can be a lot simpler way to not pay the taxes, because the W-8BEN is like super weird and confusing for most people. Unless they've done this whole course and they understand everything we've gone over so far, they're not going to have a fucking clue. And it's going to be kind of scary. So a W-4T form is a really, really beautiful way of saying, yo, what's up, bro? Dude, no problem, man. Hey, I'm going to sign this bad boy. You don't have any fucking responsibility over me at all whatsoever. Don't worry about it. Just don't take any of my money out of my paycheck. I got this covered. Here's my signature. If anything comes up in the future, tell them to come after me. They can fuck me in the ass. You're good to go. Love you, bro. And that's another way that you can, I forgot to go over it in the last video, but that's another way that you can not have to deal with that at all. I was dealing with an accountant recently, and he said the W-4T was only to eliminate previous W-4 agreements, but it's not. That's one of the reasons, but it's got two boxes here. Another box is in lieu of the W-4. So instead of giving someone a W-4, you just give them one of these, and you're good to go. That's if the employer literally won't let you work for them without giving them some kind of a fucking document. The W-4T is a beautiful, beautiful document to use for that purpose. The W-8BEN is by far the best. If you can get someone to accept that, that's the one you should use. The W-4T is a good second option. Moving on. So executive orders. So executive orders are in themselves statute. So everything that you see coming out of the private corporation known as Washington, D.C., presidents are not presidents. They are CEOs. So when you're voting for a president, you're not really voting for a president. You're voting for CEO. So the CEOs of Washington, D.C., and all the shit that they're talking about, including the governors, because the governors, like, for example, Gavin Newsom in California, he's the governor of the state of California. He's not the governor of actual California. So he what he passes and what he does, I have no jurisdiction with. He has no jurisdiction over me. And President Biden, painful to even say that, he has no jurisdiction over me either. So when you understand all this stuff and you understand that, so because Washington, D.C. and state of California and city of Los Angeles are incorporated, what happens is the way law works is when a trustee or when a government agency stops operating as a government and it starts operating as a corporation, it loses all of its force and power in law all the way down to the level of a corporation. You can't have a corporation that has all the power of government, right? So all this power and all these executive orders and everything that you're seeing in the world right now, it's all just one huge horseshit show, because really none of it really exists. The only reason why it exists at all is because they serve someone documents and then the person does actually show up to court, right? I mean, there's obviously exceptions to that rule and stuff like that. And there's warrants and stuff like that, but they're not real warrants. They're fake warrants. So somebody shows up and they've got a warrant and okay, I'll go with you. It's like, nope, you don't know what a warrant is. You don't know what a search warrant is. You don't know what any of these words mean. You don't know anything. So you just agree because you're scared, and then you go with them. And then once you go with them and once you consent and once you willingly consent, then you're contracted. So the executive orders really just apply to government employees. They're statutes. They aren't law. And the entire government is actually governed in this way. It's so when you become a state national, that's why I was telling you earlier, like all the political stuff and all the politics and all the screaming and the Trump and the Biden and this and the fucking right now, it's this whole Roe versus Wade thing in the Supreme Court. Literally none of these things that are going on in the world have anything to do with you as a state national. Now, that's not quite true. On the fringes of your life, where your life matches up with and interacts with the rest of the world, yes, it does affect you in that way. But what I mean is that the laws and statutes and all the stuff that's passed, you're not, there's no jurisdiction over you. So if they made, so this whole Roe versus Wade thing, what's happening is, and people are fucking dumb, they don't understand it. What's happening is they're killing it as a federal level thing, and they're giving the selection back to the states, right? So a bunch of states are going to say no to abortion. All the super red states, like probably Texas and maybe Florida and stuff. But like California and New York, they're still going to have abortions and stuff like that. Now, if they made abortion illegal and I was a woman, it has nothing to do with me. I could still go and get a legal abortion all day long, and it would literally have nothing to do with me as a state national. So that is the situation. Basically, what they're doing is all the executive orders, all the laws, all the governing laws, all the state laws, everything. What they're doing is it all has to do with public servants, trustees, U.S. citizens, people who live and work in Washington, D.C. That's what everything that they're doing applies to. It doesn't apply to a de jure man or woman living on the land of the state that they're in. Because there's nobody who's in this condition. There's like hardly anybody. Did you know that like 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, there was only 45,000 people that were filed as state nationals? And did you know 40,000 of them were members of the Bar Association? They were lawyers. So almost every single person that was a state national was the lawyers who knew that it would make them almost invincible in law. And you see all this shit like Hillary Clinton running around, the Clintons running around, and all these people running around, and nobody can pin them down and no one can arrest them. And they never seem to get in any trouble. Yeah. If they're all state nationals, they've all done a lot of this shit. So it's a lot harder to pin down somebody who is a state national, because you have to have a tremendous amount of evidence. And if they actually know their rights, you have to have a whole grand jury, which is 25 people. You have to indict them with tremendous amounts of evidence. It's very, very difficult to prosecute a state national, which is probably why I communicate the way I do and do all the things that I do. I mean, it's a tremendous level of freedom. I mean, it's borderline impossible for anyone to do absolutely anything to me. So now, can you use that for bad? Can you use it for good? Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is that, the whole system, in an effort to try to make people good, is becoming a slave system. So I don't really care. I understand that this course could get into the hands of bad people, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have a few bad people running around with a lot of power than the entire system itself to be a slave prison death system like it is now. We're better off with some really, really powerful criminals than we are to have the entire system itself literally being criminal. So I have no qualms about that, and just no way around it. What am I going to do? So even the way the IRS gets into your bank account is through a Form 6014, which is used for IRS employees. So if you want to look at that up, you can look up Form 6014 for IRS employees.
Got a passion for cars.
Authorization access to third-party records for internal revenue employees. That's the name of the form. Authorization access to third-party records for internal revenue employees. This is how they get into your bank account. I don't know if I can find one. Anyways, you can tell the bank once you do your revocation of election, you can be like, hey, I no longer work for the federal government. If they file a 6014 on me, if it doesn't have my signature on it, I don't give any approval for anybody to take money out of my account. You can do that. Okay. United States, the United States of America are considered two different countries. Well, one's incorporated and one's not. You have to go through an entire process to become a U.S. citizen. Whenever you say you're a U.S. citizen and it's not true, you're lying under penalty of perjury. So it says right here, an alien may be admitted to become a citizen in the United States in the following manner and not otherwise. So you're not a U.S. citizen, even if you want to be one. You kind of have to go through this whole process to even become one, and it's just too confusing anymore because it doesn't even mean the same thing as it meant when this was written. I don't think U.S. citizen meant something different back then. It wasn't this fucked up incorporated, non-incorporated, fucked up thing, right? So now that we've cleaned up U.S. citizen and we've beaten it to fucking death, here's some great case law. We've already gone over some of it, but we're going to go over more. So the people, meaning like in the Constitution, I believe, or maybe the Bill of Rights, I forget, the people, right? That's what it's referring to there, does not include U.S. citizens. That's from Barron versus Mayor and City Council of Baltimore. Okay. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity. It's not a human being. It's not alive. It is a literal full-blown piece of meat. You know, all the women out there listening to this, you don't like to be objectified. Well, it doesn't get much more objectified than this. You as a citizen of the United States is literally like a car, like a box, like a dresser, like literally this mic stand. You have as much rights as this pen. You have as much rights as this couch. You're not a man or a woman. You lose the ability to be a man or a woman, which is probably all part of this whole gender dysphoria bullshit too. Oh, we've already gone over this one. Therefore, the U.S. citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. Willing Steel Corp versus Fox. And then here we go. Unless the defendant can prove he is not a citizen of the United States, the IRS has a right to inquire and determine a tax liability. So if you reverse engineer this one, once you complete your revocation of election and your passport and all your good stuff, and you're no longer a citizen of the United States and you can prove it with like a passport, the IRS no longer has the right to inquire and determine a tax liability. The IRS no longer has a right to determine or even inquire. They can't even ask me questions about a tax liability. If they so much as even ask me a fucking question, I can slap them around or just not respond. There's nothing they can do to me at all. Plus, keep in mind, your Fifth Amendment right is to not incriminate yourself. I mean, pretty much all of, well, we're going to go over that here. The United States government is a foreign corporation with respect to a state. Cynthia J. Mills says the IRC, Internal Revenue Code, is not positive law. Positive law, I believe that means it's positive law. I think I know what that means. Yeah. Statutes which have been laid down by a legislature. So what that means is, remember the enactment clause I was telling you about earlier when we looked at that one thing at the beginning of Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code, and it says that it didn't even have an enactment law. So positive law is law that has an enactment clause, which means that it's been basically activated. Okay. So what she's saying in this situation, Cynthia J. Millis, the U.S. Treasury Disclosure Officer, she's saying it is not positive law because it's not. We looked at it earlier. section, whatever the fuck it was, said that it hadn't even been enacted yet. So it has no enactment clause. Thus, it's not positive law. It is special law applicable to specific persons in the United States who choose. See that word? Choose. Because you really do. It's fucked up, but it's the truth. To make themselves subject to the requirement of the special laws in the Internal Revenue Code by entering into an employment agreement with the U.S. government. See that? You're entering into an employment agreement to make yourself subject to that law by your own choosing, and the law is not even positive law, it's special law. So this is why the IRS is like the easiest thing in the world to handle. Once you really understand all this, they have like -6 legs to stand on under literally anything. Like no matter what your status is, it doesn't matter. It's just like they have like nothing. They have like no leverage at all whatsoever once you understand this stuff. The laws of Congress in respect to those matters do not extend into the territorial limits of the states, but they only have force in the District of Columbia and other places that are within the exclusive jurisdiction of the national government. We went over that earlier. And here's another interesting point. Whoever falsely and willfully, now willfully is an interesting one because keep this in mind. Now that you know what all this stuff means, now it's willful. So prior to listening to these videos, this particular situation, this penal code, so to speak, wouldn't have applied to you. But now that you understand what it all means, it does apply to you. It applies to you until you change your status, and then it probably won't apply to you anymore because it probably only applies to I don't know. I have to look it up and see each one of these and see if it would still apply to you, but I doubt it would once you change your status. But for now, until you change your status, whoever falsely and willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. So it's pretty heavy duty for a public servant to pretend as though they are a citizen of the United States when they're not. So I don't really know exactly how that would work now that I think about it. But anyways, so to make a long story short, the beauty of this whole process is that it's already done. No papers to fill out, nothing to do. You're already done. Wasn't that easy? And we have a quote here from Hale versus Hinkle. An individual state citizen has unalienable constitutional rights. Unalienable is usually how people think of this. That there's a lot of guys who talk about unalienable. Like, for example, David Straight talks about that. What that means is unalienable. So putting a lien on something is like, you know, you've heard about someone putting a lien on someone else's house or someone else's car or something like that. Unalienable means that it cannot be liened. You can't take it away as something that because they owe you money or because they've done something bad to you. You can't take it away through the process of law, right? Unalienable, right? So a U.S. citizen or a public servant does have all their rights are lienable. I mean, you literally don't have any real rights. You have the ones that they tell you, but they can just take them away. If like, for example, like handguns and guns, if you have a felony on your record, you can't have any guns. I think is something like that. That's because you are a slave to the system. You're a U.S. citizen. So they tell you that once you've done this thing and once you've been found guilty in a court of law of a felony, you no longer they lien your rights. They take them away. They put conditions on your rights. Okay, so an individual state citizen has unalienable constitutional rights, while a U.S. citizen, a creature of the state, has privileges and civil rights and is held subject to all policies, rules, codes, and statutes. The same as any other public servant, right? So we've already gone over this many times. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Basically, you in order to become a real human, you have to change your status from U.S. citizen to state citizen. They call it a state citizen. They call it a state citizen / U.S. national. So I know it's really confusing because you think like, oh, it has the word citizen and it has the word U.S. So like we're fucked. Not really. Because U.S. to some degree can be interchangeable, like to a really good person that you're speaking to. Maybe U.S. isn't so bad, but you definitely want to get away from it as much as humanly possible. And then citizen, when it's capitalized, usually it's a lot less deadly when it's capitalized. So when you do the passport stuff, it's state citizen, and the S in state is capitalized, and the C in citizen is capitalized, which means that it's a proper term that has a particular definition. When it's said like that, like the way the passport office says and stuff like that, it's a lot more acceptable and it's a lot less dangerous. So we'll be getting into all that as well when we get into the passport section. That's going to be a long one. But as for now, this is the end of this video. And I think I might be done for the night. It's kind of late. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. But anyways, I hope this was a good one, and see you at the next one. Bye-bye.